What kind? I saw you lift some hard liquor a while ago.
Yeah, can I? Let's see.
I'll have a shot of bourbon.
All right, I'll cue that up.
I do a damn good interview when I'm drunk.
Say it again. I want to get that on tape. Could you start off by telling me your name and birthday again?
Okay, Therrel Brown, Therrel, L as in Lee Brown. I was born May 4th, 1939.
How did you get the name Therrel?
That was my grandfather's name, and I've never forgiven my parents for giving it to me.
So is it kind of like a boy named Sue situation?
And I in turn gave it to my son. He's never forgiven me either.
You just keep perpetuating that
That's
cycle.
right. That's right.
That's funny. And you were born here in North Carolina, right?
Born in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What part of Charlotte?
Oh my gosh, I think we lived on Fifth Street.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, area. I remember one time you mentioned being relatively close to Sugar Creek.
That's true. That's true.
And,
in fact, I prior to the declarations of the pollutants in Sugar Creek, I swam in that riverway.
Oh wow!
On many occasions. Now that's why, and now I glow in the dark.
So, growing up in Sugar Creek in the 1940s, what was that like? What was your childhood like?
It was. My mother worked in a hosiery mill. She never owned a home. We rented, but I always had money. And when I say I had money, we lived across the street almost from the Armory Auditorium and the Memorial Stadium. So anytime there was an event, a wrestling match or a basketball game or a football game or something, I would park cars or have cars park in my yard at 50 cents a car. Mm. So I always had money, just a matter of that. And, of course, I went in the Air Force 2 days after I turned 17. So I wasn't a dependent on my mother for a long time, which was a good thing. I needed to be on my own as opposed to being in a dependent relationship with my mother. She worked in a hosiery mill, didn't have a lot of money, didn't own a home. So I needed to be on my own, and I wanted to be on my own.
It sounds like you had what a lot of folks today would call a free-range childhood.
I did, and some of it was not good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Growing up in such close proximity to the auditorium, the stadium, you probably saw a lot of cool acts come through.
I did. I saw Hank Williams Sr. At that Memorial Stadium. I had no idea at the time. I was just a kid of the significance of that, but I knew then that this guy's pretty special.
Wow. How do you remember how much a ticket cost to get to see Hank Williams?
I think it was something like 50 cents. It wasn't much. But the stadium was filled with people. The Memorial Stadium was completely filled, and he put on quite a show.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Was this the show? There was one show where your mom had to save up. She had to drink. There was some kind of like medicine.
Oh Lord, Hadacol.
Hadacol.
Yeah. Well, there were several shows that were sponsored by Hadacol, and to get in, you had to have a box stop from a Hadacol, which was an elixir, and it was like many elixirs at that time. Mostly alcohol. I mean, if you drank enough, you could have had leprosy. You're going to feel better.
It worked.
It worked.
So Hadacol maybe brought to you, or Hank Williams Sr. brought to you by Hadacol.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So your mom worked pretty hard.
She did. She worked in a hosiery mill, never owned a car, never owned a home, paid rent, rode a bus to town to do shopping and stuff. But I got my work ethic from her. She had a good spirit. I don't recall ever hearing her complain about something, and paid her bills. And she would give me money to go to the courthouse and pay the water bill. And I'm 9, 10 years old, and so I learned then that you get the water and you pay your bill. This is what you do. And that's the way it was. And, of course, like I said before, I realized that living in a single parent household, that was quite an expense for my mother.
Yeah.
And when I got of an age, well, a long story short, I tried to go in the military at 16, and my mother wouldn't sign for me.
Mm-hmm.
But she told me, said, now, when you turn 17, if you still want to go in the military, I'll sign for you. So the day I turned 17, she signed, and I went in the military.
Wow.
2 days later. So I mean I knew then that was where I wanted to be for a while anyway.
Yeah. So growing up, did you always know you wanted to be in the military?
Pretty much. I just needed the structure. I needed the guidance. I needed the discipline. I needed the predictability that I found in that system. Mm-hmm. I knew for a fact, it wasn't conjecture, it wasn't maybe. I knew for a fact if I did something that was not appropriate and unacceptable, this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The discipline part, the predictability. I knew if I did what I was supposed to do and I did it well, I was going to get promoted. There wasn't a lot of leeway there. It was kind of black and white, mm-hmm. day and night. It was the way it was. I liked that. I've not found another system like that to the degree that it was like that in civilian life. That's just me.
So growing up in Charlotte, you were, I mean, sounds like a classic case of Mama tried. She was doing everything.
Merle Haggard would say, "Mama tried."
That's right, Mama tried. Your dad was not in the picture.
He died when I was about 8 years old, mm-hmm. and I had a stepfather, and that was a whole nother issue. But
you guys didn't jive.
We did not get along, and he made sure that I knew that he was not really excited about me being there. And so, first of all, I ran away at 16.
Mm.
And
how far did you make it?
Made it to the county line.
Okay.
And Mecklenburg County line, almost to Pineville. And the police picked me up and brought me back. And rather than put me in a detention type facility, my sister came to court, juvenile court, and petitioned the court to let me come live with them, as my guardian. And so I went to live with my sister and my brother-in-law, changed schools, and became a pretty good basketball player and an athlete. I was always an athlete, but I got really, really good at sports. And so that's what I did. And then I decided to go in the Air Force. And I was on probation at the time for vandalism. I threw some rocks through the school window. And
as you do.
I'm sorry?
As one does.
Yeah, as
from
one
time
does.
to time.
I mean, they took me to juvenile court.
Was it just you? Did you have a kind of a crew you were running with, or were you a lone wolf?
I was always a leader. Hey, sometimes it was good, sometimes it was not good. But I look back and there was critical points that just I had a probation officer that was exceptional. I had some coaches that believed in me. Even if it's not a parent, if there are other people there at critical times to make a stand for you or to advocate for you, it makes a difference. And it's critical, like getting in the Air Force. I told my mother I'm going in the Air Force. Well, I had a childhood disease in my right leg, and she knew that I would not physically get in the Air Force. So when I came back from the physical, she was all set and prepared to console me for being turned down. And I told her, so I'm leaving in the morning. and she was surprised. They didn't ask me about my leg, and it was not obviously something wrong with me. They didn't ask, and I didn't tell. And I got in the military. But I think back even today sometimes, what would I have done had that 20 years, 2 months, and 22 days of the Air Force not been available to me?
Mm-hmm.
And I would have probably gone to college on an athletic scholarship, maybe. But I thank God every day that I didn't have to worry about that, because from 17 to 37, all that was laid out for me in a system that I was okay with.
But before we leave Charlotte and your childhood,
Yeah.
one thing I also remember you talking about that seems to have had a pretty big impact on your life was you grew up pretty close to a science museum or a nature center.
Yeah.
Remind me of what that situation
The Children's Nature Museum was right next door to my house. And so I would come home from school, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, throw my books down and go next door. And it was always like a babysitter. I mean, I was there all the time. I handled snakes, hawks, owls, just anything that they had. I grew up being indoctrinated and going on field trips and stuff. I still have an incredible sense of respect for wildlife and nature. But that was, I loved it. And like I said, at 17, I went in the Air Force, and that was all laid out for me.
When you went into the Air Force, so you enlist 2 days after turning 17.
Yeah.
Your mom has to sign for you.
Yeah.
And then you ship out, right, for basic.
I went to basic training in San Antonio.
Was that your first time really leaving home, leaving North Carolina?
Yeah.
With the exception of, I know you might have done some hitchhiking.
Yeah. I only got to the county line on that.
Didn't you go to South Carolina one time, or Myrtle Beach?
I got close.
You got close. Okay.
But the Air Force was just, I knew from the moment I got in the Air Force, even in basic training, that, you know what, this was something that I can do. I like it. I enjoyed being on my own. When I say on my own, I didn't get paid a lot, but I didn't need a lot.
What did your mom think, about, because she was busy, she was working.
Yeah.
When you guys would interact at home, and the times when she would see you at home, was what were those interactions like? Because you were kind of off, like getting into all kinds of adventures. I mean, you were almost had like a Huckleberry Finn.
That was true.
Childhood. It
was good in that I knew I was not an economic burden. I knew that at home she fed me, she clothed me, and all this stuff. I was on my own. And one of the stories I tell when I talk about my military career is they took me in this warehouse along with all the other inductees and gave me a whole bag full of clothes, winter clothes, summer clothes, T-shirts, underwear, socks, winter socks, summer socks, a raincoat, rain cap cover, all this kind of stuff, and 3 pairs of shoes. And I wrote home and I told my mother, I said, they gave me all these clothes and 3 pairs of shoes. And she wrote me back and said, son, send 2 pairs of those shoes home. Nobody needs 3 pairs of shoes. So that's kind of tells you something about our economic lifestyle.
Yeah.
But that's a true story.
Yeah. And I'm also realizing now that you were born during, but really kind of at the tail end of the Depression.
Yeah.
So your parents had seen some pretty hard times.
They did, and I never heard my mother complain. I got gifts, and I'm not whining, but I got gifts 2 times a year. I always got something for my birthday. I remember I got a used bicycle. I didn't know it was used at the time, but it was a regular 26-inch men's bicycle. And I had a tough time riding because I was about 8 years old. But, she did the best she could. But I also knew that if I had the ability to be on my own and support myself in an environment or a system that I got paid, that's where I needed to be and to do, and I did.
I remember back in teen court, occasionally we would have kids come in who would complain about having, for example, having to wear hand-me-down clothes.
Yeah.
And you always had a very quick way of turning that one around.
Certainly did. I said, you complain about wearing hand-me-down clothes. I said, I wore hand-me-down clothes. And I had sisters. And that always kind of would break the ice, Say, man, that old boy had it tough.
So when you leave Charlotte and go to San Antonio,
yeah,
Lackland,
yeah,
Air Force Base, to do your training, what was the culture shock like? Not just the culture shock of going into the Air Force, but of leaving North Carolina. You drove a bus, right? I mean, you rode a bus across the country.
They
with all the other recruits.
Actually, they flew me.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The Air Force flew me from Charlotte to San Antonio, and of course they met us at the airport. If you saw the movie, I'm trying to think of it, about An Officer and a Gentleman, and the training scenario and how they talked. That was just about the way it was. I flew into San Antonio. I was met at the airport by a TI, training instructor, and he was on me like a duck on a June bug, and talking ugly to me. Talked about my mama, talked about my sister, and but I knew then, I can do this. I really, really can. And they gave me about $75, gave us all, and they took us to the post exchange, the BX, and the clothing exchange, and they gave us clothes, and we had to buy certain things. Well, they took all of the $75, and that was the reason they gave it to us. You'll buy A, B, C, D, and E, and you'll pay for it. But anyway, it was a good system, and I expected it to be tough.
So this is 1956.
1956.
So the military is integrated now, racially.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been integrated for very long.
Military integrated in 1947. Yeah.
What was there was there an interesting dynamic between?
No, it was just there were multiple African Americans and other minorities in my flight in basic training in tech school. It was well into integration. In fact, it was the most integrated entity on the planet at that time, the military, in 1940, 47, 48, 49, 50. And then, of course, like I said, in 50, I've been almost 10 years when I went in. So it was a good thing.
So there were never any issues between black and white recruits or soldiers?
No, they treated, whether you're black or whether you're white, they treated us all like crap. So they didn't discriminate.
What about when you went off base, or when you had to take? I feel like I'm remembering sometime where you guys were shipped like on a bus across the country or something.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the country wasn't as integrated.
The thing that was what I guess was different was if I got on a bus in Charlotte and I was going to Alaska, and that happened. I rode across the country on a bus. I would get on the bus and I would look around for a military person that it could have been a Navy person, an Army person, another Air Force person, but I knew I had something in common with that person, and I would normally sit with them on that mode of transportation and have that conversation. Like I said before, it's the most integrated entity on the planet at that time.
Mm-hmm. So you go through training. You ultimately get stationed in Alaska.
Yeah. That was back during the Cold War. And the thought processes were, if the Soviet Union were to attack the United States, they would come across Alaska, and that would come from the north.
So you were the first line of defense.
First line of defense, and that we were in fact, it was a DEW line, distant early warning. We would pick them up on radar, and they would be intercepted by fighters. Wow. And that was, I was there for 12 months. It was Cape Romanzov, way out. They flew us in a 2-engine Constellation or cargo plane, landed us. We with whatever we had, and we were going to stay there for 12 months. They would fly a doctor in every 6 months and do examinations and stuff. They'd fly a dentist in, this, that, and the other. But it was very sparse living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was that like to go from Charlotte, North Carolina to no man's land, Alaska?
It was, well, for me, it was
was it terrifying or was it exciting?
It's terrifying. No, it was an adventure for me. I had never been out of North and South Carolina. Mm-hmm. So going to Texas and going to Cheyenne, Wyoming for training, and going to Alaska was a big adventure. I loved it.
But for 12 months, I mean,
yeah.
What do you do out there?
Well, in my case, we had when I say a movie theater, we had a large room with two projectors, and I had a part-time job there showing the movies.
Okay.
And I got paid to
so
do
you
that.
ran the projector.
I ran the projectors for movies and stuff, and we had a club where you could buy beer and stuff, and I had my first beer there, and that was an experience.
Yeah, I bet it was cold.
that and
cold as the Rockies.
But it was this again. I was at 17. It was a big adventure, and still is. And I think back on that, and it was exciting.
You went from Alaska then to Guam?
I came back to South Carolina.
Okay.
And then I went to Guam for 18 months. And
you got back to South Carolina and you're like, I can't do this. I got to get out.
Yeah. Well, I went in the Air Force to travel. Mm-hmm. So I volunteered. I said, somebody wanted somebody to go to Guam. I said, hey, I'll go.
Mm-hmm. Did you like Guam?
Yeah. So I went to Guam went through Hawaii and landed at Guam. And it's kind of funny because en route to Guam, we landed at Wake Island. And I'm in this Air Force or this cargo plane, and it's going down, it's descending, and I'm looking out the window, and I don't see anything but ocean. And I'm wondering, but Wake Island, during high tide, the water would come up on the end of the runway. It's just a little dot in the middle of nowhere. And it's a big refueling base for military and civilian airplanes.
Wow.
Going to the Far East, going to Japan. And so, we landed there. And well, I went to Guam and did my 18 months there, played football on the base team, and had a good time, as much of a good time as I could have.
And at some point in all of this, you got married.
Well, yeah, I got married. I came back from Guam to Plattsburgh, New York, and in 1960, I met my wife in Montreal. Plattsburgh is about 60 miles south of Montreal, Canada.
You can do that in a night, easy.
I'm sorry?
You can drive that in a night.
Oh,
easily.
yes, sir, and the weekends particularly. Mm-hmm. And I met my wife, and we had about a year courtship and got married. And we've been married 60 years as I speak, and 4 great kids are all adults and actually moving towards retirement age. But she's been my life's companion for 60 years.
So you met your wife in Montreal.
Yeah.
Was she American?
I'm sorry?
Was she an American?
No, she's Canadian, French Canadian.
Okay, so I guess then would it be a safe assumption that English was not her first language when you?
No, it was not her first language.
And you don't speak French that I know of.
I know just enough to get in trouble. But she's bilingual.
Okay.
She worked for the Canadian Broadcasting Company, CBC, and
So you're going up to Montreal to party.
To party, yeah.
Uh-huh. And, I mean, for folks who've never been to Montreal, what do people need to know about it as a city?
It's the most wonderful. They call it the Paris of North America. It's wonderful. Of course, again, the primary language there is French Canadian, but most French Canadians are bilingually speak English as well. But beautiful town, beautiful city. My mouth's watering because I'm thinking about eating smoked meat sandwiches.
That's a big thing up there
with a pickle spear. Oh my God, yeah! It's a pastrami like meat, but my God, it's good. Actually, my mouth is watering. But it was. I met my wife, and we had a normal courtship. And
well, I want to stop you right there because how you met your wife has always been a charming story to me.
We would go up to Montreal on the weekends and stuff, and there's a huge dance hall with a live orchestra, and she went by she being my wife to be, went by my table, and I got up and fell in behind her and asked her to dance, and we've been dancing ever since.
So she said yes?
Yeah, she did. Yes,
wow.
She did. But it was kind of interesting because we danced that evening, and I took her home to Maplewood Avenue in Montreal, and about 3:30 in the morning, she said to me, I think it's about time you hit the road. And I said, okay. So I went out and didn't have a lot of money at that time. I'm sitting at a bus stop, and a cab pulled up and said, "What are you doing, son?" I was in Air Force uniform. And I said, "I'm waiting for the bus." He said, "That bus stopped running at midnight." And I said, "Oh, me." He said, "Get in and I'll take you into town." So he took me to my hotel and didn't charge me anything. But that was kind of an interesting, we still talk about, you remember putting me out at 3:30 in the morning when the buses weren't running?
And she's like, well, yeah, you deserved it.
And she said, "Yeah, I do." And I do. No, that was fun. That's one of those funny stories.
Was it a challenge to get that courtship up and running, given that you were on an Air Force base, she's across an international border? I mean, you had to make long distance phone calls. Like today, you could just get on your phone and text.
Well, that's true. It was a challenge, and I knew almost instantaneously this was someone that I really wanted to have a meaningful, reciprocal relationship with. And an interesting story, I asked her, several times that, so let's get married. No, I don't. And I asked her to get married, and she said, "Okay, we'll do it." And her grandmother died. And the significance of that was that her grandmother had said to her, "I will not die until I know you're going to be okay." Mm. And so I asked her to marry me. She said yes, and her grandmother died. Mm. And that was kind of a significant emotional event anyway, to both of us.
You mentioned you've been married 64, 65?
A little over 60.
Wow, yeah. How do you do that?
Well, there are bumps in the road. Every relationship, every life has bumps in the road. It's just different bumps. Mm-hmm. We lost a baby. Michael was born with the Highland membrane syndrome, the breathing difficulty. The lungs are the last thing to develop.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Completely. And so he had breathing problems, and he lived for 3 days, and he died. And so we had that. And, of course, I did a year in Vietnam. And so there were challenges, along the way, and occupational challenges of being in the military. But life's been good. Life is life. Everybody has challenges.
Well, so okay, hold up, because you just laid out a number of really significant events that would break a lot of people, probably me included. I mean, I hear you describing the challenges of the experience of losing a child, of being deployed to a combat zone for a year. I've never done any of the. I've never experienced any of these things, but I guess I'm just always amazed that you are not cynical or jaded. I mean, how?
Well, I think it has to do with background. I've never been coddled. When I say coddled or protected from these things, I remember my uncle got killed on Corregidor, and I remember the family crying. I had no idea. I'm a child. I've got 6 or 7 years old. No idea why they're crying. And then I realized that my uncle had been killed on Corregidor, and they were all grieving over that. I've not been protected from, I walked on crutches for 3 years. Looking back, the fact that I even got in the military at 17 years old was a minor miracle. Now, I did not lie about my background. Mm-hmm. They didn't ask me, and I didn't tell. Mm-hmm. But I did everything I was required to do. I got through basic training. I got through technical training. At some point in time, I did a year in Vietnam. I did everything I was asked to do, and I did it well. I retired as a master sergeant at times when a lot of people were retiring as staff sergeant and tech sergeant. I retired as a rank higher than that.
What I'm kind of hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but that you have throughout your life have not been in the habit of having expectations or feeling entitled to certain things.
I wanted an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And if I got the opportunity, I was going to make the very best of it. I came back from Vietnam. I'm stationed at Pope Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. Each squadron would pick an NCO of the month. I made NCO of the month for my squadron and the base for the month and the quarter. All I ever wanted was I felt like if I could get the interview, I could get the job. Mm. I was working at Fayetteville Technical College after I retired from the Air Force. There was a job opening at Fayetteville State University, which is a historically predominantly African-American institution. They had an opening for a coordinator for gerontology programs, study of the aging. I had some experience in gerontology with the Duke Center for the Study of Aging. I applied for that job. Now, my counterparts at Fayetteville Tech said, "You'll never get the job. That's an African-American institution. They're going to hire an African-American." I got the interview, and I got the job. Mm. Now, I had some episodes where you don't have to be white to be a bigot. Bigots come in all sizes, shapes, ethnicities, races, whatever. Mm. And I discovered that very quickly. But I didn't leave that job. I stayed in it until I got ready to leave, and I went from there to a better job at that time. But, you're going to have that. I don't care where you're at.
Talking about bigotry, you came of age in a time where there was a lot of racial bigotry.
Yeah.
How did you personally navigate that?
Well, the thing that I pride myself in most is my family, my mother. I never heard any racial slurs in my household. Mm. Never happened. I didn't grow up that way. And when I went in the military at 17, that was just reinforced that golly, the military integrated in 1947. Mm-hmm. in 1956, that was one of the most integrated entities in the world. Was the United States military. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have any problems because, as people say, I wasn't raised that way.
Mm-hmm. Were you? But you must have been around people who were raised that way.
Oh yeah. I don't like it now. And we again, an example would be some years ago. I was playing poker at my son's house in Salisbury. We got together, had a nickel dime quarter poker, had a big time, and some of the people at the table began to drop the N-bomb. Bam, bam, bam. And finally I said, time out. I'm not comfortable with this. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use the N-bomb or you can't talk the way you talk, but if it continues, I'm leaving here. I'm out of here because I don't like that. So if you will and you can, when I'm here, don't do that.
Right.
It's just that simple. I don't have to play. I can leave and you guys can do whatever you want to do.
You can't control the language other people use.
No, and that gets back to, if you want me to play, this is what has to happen. I'm not asking you for $100, but I'm asking you to stop talking this way. I said, my son wasn't raised that way. Mm-hmm. He's sitting over there and said, he wasn't raised that way. Mm. He doesn't talk that way. So, but then they know. Otherwise, they don't. They if I don't say anything, they think I agree with them, and I don't.
Did you grow up in a pretty white community? Did you have any interactions with people?
Well, the only difference in me and my family and the African American families was Sugar Creek. We lived on one side of Sugar Creek, and on the other side was nothing but African American, poor African American families. Economically, it wasn't a dime's worth of difference between the two. Now, we went to different schools because of segregation, but economically, we didn't have anything. That's why, again, at 17, I hit the road. I'm out of here, and I went on my own, and if I missed a meal or whatever, it was on me.
Yeah, whatever.
I missed a few.
I was going to say, yeah, whatever you hunt, you eat.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You were a drill sergeant. I mean, you got your hat here, U.S. Master Sergeant, retired. A drill sergeant is something everybody's seen on TV. Yeah. We've all seen Full Metal Jacket, right? We know what a drill sergeant's supposed to look like and sound like. You were an Air Force drill sergeant. What are the myths and realities of that job?
My major job is to get that young person through basic training. As if it's possible, and in 99.9% of the cases, it is possible. And here's what I took very seriously. If you came into the military and the United States Air Force, and you had never played football, you'd never played baseball, basketball, or an organized sport where you had to hustle and make the team, I had to work with you because you were lacking coordination skills that an athletic person would normally have. That was the challenge, to get this person over here that lacked coordination through basic training, because nothing in the Air Force per se, unless this is a combat situation, is going to be tougher than basic training. So I'm not trying to eliminate you. I'm trying to get you through basic training. So if that means I've got to go out with you on the drill pad and work on facing movements, coordination, things like that, I'm going to do that. That doesn't mean you're going to make it, but I'm going to do everything I can to get you through basic training.
How often does that involve, making some poor recruit suck their thumb and walk around with their pants at their ankles.
That's the part of that movie.
Yeah.
That if one were to do that, I say if one were to do that, if a training instructor, TI, were to do that, they would be out of the military.
So you couldn't do that?
No, you couldn't do that. There's no way in the world you could do that. You could not do that because it's very simple. It's maltreatment. French word meaning bad. You cannot do that. You cannot maltreat trainees. You can do it, but if it's discovered that you're maltreating them, your butt's going to be out of the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned volunteering to go to Guam, and whenever you got a chance, you joined to travel. That was one of the reasons you joined.
Yeah. I wanted to get out, and I wanted to be. Didn't want to be a burden to my family. I wanted to be on my own.
But you volunteered to go to Vietnam.
I did.
Forgive me, but that sounds insane. Knowing what I know today about Vietnam, well, I can't imagine raising my hand and saying, pick me.
Understand, I was 27 years old. I'm an old man. As far as I'd been in the Air Force for 10 years.
Right. So by the time Vietnam rolls around,
I knew that I was going to go anyway. So, I volunteered. I'll go, and I'll get my 12 months in. And I was there during Tet Offensive of 68, when all the bases were hit, when Johnson and McNamara and Westmoreland were talking about the ends in sight, the light at the end of the tunnel. And the Tet Offensive of 68 happened, and everybody realized that light at the end of the tunnel was BS, that we were into a real situation. And the philosophy was, the belief was, if Vietnam fell, if South Vietnam fell, the whole world was going to go communist. The domino theory. And it fell, and it didn't. The whole world didn't go communist. Vietnam united, as Ho Chi Minh wanted. They're doing exceptionally well. The shoes that you're wearing today were probably made in Vietnam, if the truth be known. But and I don't mean that critically. It's just that domino theory never happened. The world did not go communist.
So you went to Vietnam in 1967.
67.
When you showed up. What was your job?
Basically, I drove a truck from Saigon or Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base to Bien Hoa and Cholan, and there's a huge, phenomenally large depot called Long Binh. And I drove supplies pretty much. It was a dangerous job because I was on the highway all the time. But it was what I did. I drove supplies. I was in supply and logistics, and that's what I did for 12 months.
Was there any kind of a culture shock, not just being in a war zone, but interacting with, you're around Vietnamese people who have a very different set of traditions and culture than we have here in North Carolina?
I always tried to empathize with the people because I'm coming in and I'm going back. I know that. I've got a calendar. I'm marking the days off, and pretty soon I know the day I'm going to leave there, or pretty much the day I'm going to leave here. They're going to stay, and and if you look back historically, we got out of Vietnam, and the whole world didn't go communist. It did not. It did not happen.
I was going to ask if you ever learned any Vietnamese.
I'm sorry?
Did you ever pick up any Vietnamese?
Just enough to get myself in trouble.
So if
Zip Loy Minor means sorry about that. Somebody say something, say Zip Loy Minor.
Just sorry about that. So is there an example of a time when you would have had to use that?
Oh, it's just somebody say something, you say Zip Loy Minor. Sorry about that. That was just almost a joke,
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Choi means, I don't even know what that means, but but you'd be in a conversation with the guy and say, "Choy, oi," like wow or something.
Yeah, gosh, yeah,
yeah. But it was. Again, I knew I was there for X amount of days. The idea was do whatever you could do to survive, and make it through that year.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly you did. But if you arrived in you said April of '67, or
I arrived on April the 10th.
Okay.
1967.
So then Tet would have been in like the home stretch of your deployment. Like that would have been January, February, March. That would have been at the very end.
Yeah.
So you were when that started, you were coming.
I had just gotten back from Australia. This was another one of those things that, as a child, I'd always been intrigued with Australia, and I wanted to go to Australia R&R for a rest. We got an R&R. And they opened it up, and I went to Australia, and I had just gotten back from Australia R&R when the Tet Offensive took place. And of course, I was heading towards my rotation in April, but we knew it was going to happen. We did not know. I don't think we knew the degree that they were going to hit every base in South Vietnam at 3:00 in the morning. And they did.
Including your base.
Including Benoit. And they not only hit the base, they broke the perimeter and came onto the base with ground troops. And I remember thinking when it first started that it was a thunderstorm. I heard this tremendous, sounded like thunder. And I leaned over out of my bunk and looked, and I saw tracers coming in, and I said, "No, this is not a thunderstorm." And so I got out and got my M16, got up and got my M16, and went out on the perimeter. And
was that the first time you'd seen tracers coming in?
Yeah, and I knew that we had gotten rocketed and mortared on multiple occasions. That happened 2 or 3 times a week, but we're talking small arms fire. And of course now the helicopter pilots, they did a hell of a job because they caught the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong. They caught the second wave, and they smoked them. And so that's what I'm trying to say is technologically a helicopter gunship, a helicopter with the machine guns could hit every square foot of a football field in one pass. So if you were on that football field, your butt was grass, and that helicopter was a lawnmower. So
you saw the choppers go up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess in this case they fly a perimeter around the base.
And you see the tracers. That tracer is something like every 5th bullet, but it looks like it's so fast it looks like it's one, every one of them's a tracer, but actually it's every 5th bullet.
I remember one time you mentioned a particularly kind of ghastly detail about the guard dogs.
There were a lot of casualties, a lot of North Vietnamese and Viet Cong dead on the perimeter of the base. And they began to smell as the bodies began to decay, and it was hot. And the sentry dogs were all messed up because of the stench as opposed to not being there, So they had to some way get these bodies off of the perimeter because it was compromising the effectiveness of the sentry dogs.
Wow.
And
I think so. The Tet Offensive starts in I don't remember the date exactly, but it's not a one night thing. It lasted.
No.
So you obviously you have that one night where it begins and everybody is taken by surprise and you are trying to defend your base.
Yeah.
But then in the weeks and maybe even months after that, you've still got to drive a truck while the offensive is.
Yeah, and that was well, I had an interesting conversation with my boss about my job. He was
your commanding officer.
That was my captain. Yeah,
Okay.
my commanding officer, my direct supervisor. He called me in during the Tet Offensive and said he was going to have to send me to Saigon to pick up some supplies. And this is in the middle of the Tet Offensive. They were shooting trucks off the road right and left. That was not a good place to be. So I reminded him of that. I said, what is it that is so important that you need to send me to Saigon, to Tan Son Nhut, to pick up supplies? He said, we're out of ice cream. And I'm looking at him and I says, you're kidding, right? You're sending me to Saigon in the middle of the Tet Offensive to get ice cream. Yeah. And I remember looking at him and says, well, can Sergeant Rich ride shotgun with me? And he said, I can't afford to lose both of you. And so...
How did that feel?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Captain. This is a guy that never left the base. But I mean, that's what made the Vietnam War so crazy. Is crap like that. Mm-hmm. And he looked me in the eye and said, I can't afford to lose both of you.
Crap like that in the sense of there was a disconnect?
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this
guy had never left the officers' club.
This is a guy that never left the base. Mm-hmm. I left the base on a regular basis. I knew what the ramifications were and the risks were of being on the road between Saigon and Bien Hoa and Cholon and Long Binh. I knew what the ramifications were. Mm. I was concerned about making it another 2 or 3 months and going home. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the hell this guy was thinking about, but it damn sure wasn't me going home.
The base you were on was a pretty major installation.
It was. Bien Hoa Air Base was north of Saigon, north of Tan Son Nhut. Everybody that went into Vietnam normally went through Saigon and Tan Son Nhut, and then you went to your bases. But Bien Hoa is a big base, and they had F-86s, F-100s, transports, but it was a hub of activity. We got rocketed and mortared all the time, but the ground attack was something new.
What was it like transitioning from being in Vietnam to being back in civilian culture in the United States? You came back in April
5th, 1968, and it was an interesting transition because I got back to the United States a day or two after Martin Luther King was assassinated. So I had to go from San Francisco to Charlotte by way of Atlanta. And
you flew from Vietnam to San Francisco, or did you have to go through?
That was the way it came back. It came back from Vietnam to Guam to San Francisco, and then I had to get across the country to to Charlotte. And like I said before, I landed at San Francisco, and or actually in Japan when I left Vietnam, and the headlines read Martin Luther King slain. So I got back to the United States on April 5th, 1968, and I had to get from San Francisco to Charlotte by way of Atlanta. Atlanta was on fire with all the riots and stuff. So it was crazy. It was just a crazy time to be in America.
What was happening in Charlotte? Because that's where you were.
Well, yeah, because the riots, the demonstrations from the assassination of Martin Luther King, and in fact, Charlotte was on a curfew. My wife had to get permission to go to the airport to pick me up because it was a shutdown. They weren't allowed people on the road. There were places on fire and stuff. But she got permission because my plane came in and my sister and my wife picked me up at the airport.
Wow.
So I laughed because I came from one combat zone to another. At least it seemed that way.
How were you? I mean, my guess is that you probably came home and took a nice long nap. You were probably exhausted.
That was the second thing I did.
You hit that pillow. You are a white guy who grew up in the 50s
Yep.
and during segregation in the South.
Yeah.
And your demographic profile. So here I am, racial profiling, right?
Yeah.
You fit the mold of a Trump voter, but you're not a Trump voter.
No.
What's going on there? Why aren't you a Trump voter?
I don't mind that he did not serve in Vietnam. Doesn't bother me, or in the military. Doesn't bother me at all. But when he criticized John McCain, the man who was the longest held Vietnam War prisoner of war, and was horribly, horribly maltreated as a prisoner of war, that bothered me, and it still bothers me.
That was a deal breaker?
That was a deal breaker. I couldn't be in the same room with him.
What did you think about Obama?
I liked Obama. Obama, he didn't serve either, but that was all right. He never he never criticized those that did that I'm aware of. But Trump is who he is. He's like an onion. You can peel him, and all you're going to get is onion. More and more onion. That's all. That's
Layers of onion.
Yeah, that's all that's there. And that's who he is. But I know that. Anybody that wants to know about Donald Trump should know that or could know that. It's not a matter of a big secret. He talked about his attitude towards women. If you're a famous person, you can grab women by the crotch. It's okay. I don't like that. I've got daughters. I've got a wife. I've got, grandchildren. I don't like that. You can think that, but when you verbalize it and you're a head of state, that's a whole different issue. That's just me. I voted every election since Kennedy. As soon as I was eligible to vote, I voted.
Did you vote for Kennedy, or did
I voted for Kennedy? Yeah, oh yeah, I did. John Kennedy, yeah. And I remember the Kennedy assassination. John Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. He was in San Antonio the day before.
And you were in San Antonio.
I was in San Antonio, and I remember Air Force One taking off from Kelly Air Force Base, and I'm driving around the flight line. I told my wife, "So that's Air Force One. That's the president's plane." And the next day, he's assassinated. Those were historic times, tragically historic times. But I was in Texas when that happened.
So did you see it on the news? I mean, how did you hear that he had been?
Like I said, he had been in San Antonio the day before. And the day he was assassinated, someone came in the flight office at Lackland Air Force Base and said, somebody shot the president. And my response was, that's not funny, man. Don't kid about that. He said, somebody shot the president. And we went over to the day room where the television set was at, and we all sat there and watched the Parkland Hospital in Dallas and the events. And
did you see Walter Cronkite?
Yeah, and when Walter Cronkite began to weep and said the President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, died at Parkland, and wow.
Yeah.
Historic. And then, then Lee Harvey Oswald was assassinated by Jack Ruby a couple of days later. I mean, it's crazy times.
It is. You're right. And talking with you now about it, talking about Vietnam, talking about your experience getting back from Vietnam, talking about the Kennedy assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald getting shot a couple of days later. We like to think, many people today feel like we are living in the craziest of times, and times are crazy.
Yeah.
But times have been crazy before too.
Oh yeah.
And we haven't even talked about like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
which you also experienced in a pretty unique way.
The Cuban Missile. Now, that was the only time that I was in Strategic Air Command at Plattsburgh Air Force Base, New York. We had B-47s, KC-97s, and B-52s. And they blew the siren. We had alerts all the time at Strategic Air Command. That was not uncommon. But they blew the sirens. We all went out to the base. I left my wife, who was pregnant at the time, at our apartment in Plattsburgh, New York. And we got there and we realized this is not an alert. This is not a practice thing. This is a real deal. The pilots were in their planes. They had their targets. They were actually eating meals in their planes. They were that ready to go. All they were waiting for was the decision to be made to go. And we would have been in a situation where we, in my mind, would have had a nuclear exchange with the Soviet Union.
That's just
it's wild stuff.
It is wild. It's
stuff.
Wild stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Backtracking a little bit. It's good whiskey, isn't it?
It is.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
I thought you'd like it.
It's damn good. Damn good.
Nothing but the best for you, Dr. Brown. This is we keep this in the reserve.
I love it when you talk like that.
This question is totally out of left field.
Yes, that's fine.
That's how you are. You're out of left. Well, I'm curious to see where you'll take this one because I know you're not going to expect it. For people who don't know, could you explain how to play the dozens?
How what?
How to play the dozens.
The dozens. The dozens is primarily an African American thing. And it's quite common. And it's done under the banner of humor. That's where one person says something negatively about another person's mama, or maybe a sister, but primarily mama. And, it would be something like this. Hey, man, yeah, I saw your mama the other night. You saw my mama the other night. What was she doing? She was on the flight line with a mattress on her back yelling curb service. And I'd say, well, yeah, well, I saw your mama, and she was, and they come back with something like it's
you just one up each other.
Yeah, it's a negative competition, and under the banner of humor, where you talk about somebody's mama, and it's the first time I heard it, I'm laughing. I said, man, I'm sitting at a table in the dining hall with a couple of African American airmen, and they're playing the dozens, and I'm laughing. And one of them put his finger in my face and said, if you grin, you in. That means if you laugh, you playing the dozens. I said, man, I ain't in. I said, I don't even buy a dozen eggs. I buy 11 or 13, but I don't buy no dozen. But that's what that is.
I'm led to believe you got pretty good at it.
Oh, man, yeah. I'd never heard anything like it, and it was funny.
I was going to ask you another question about, you were in the Air Force. You have one of your kids was in the or actually two of your kids were in the Air Force, right? Or were in the military in some capacity. What was it like to be in Vietnam? And then you have the next generation, at least one of your kids who's also been in the combat zone at, I'm thinking the Gulf War, the first Iraq War.
Yeah.
What was that like as a veteran to have a kid deployed to that and just?
It was interesting in that, and this is something I've never shared with anybody, but my son, who was deployed to Afghanistan, gave me a letter that I was to give to his wife if he didn't come back. So that was kind of an emotional thing. But he knew that I knew what that experience was like. and that was kind of a bonding thing. But and he did come back all right. But it was, it's we go through those kind of experiences with the belief or the hope that our children won't have to, that I'll do this, and again, to get him back to that domino theory, these things won't happen. But
and he was also in Desert Storm.
I'm sorry.
He was also in Desert Storm.
Yeah.
What do you remember about Desert Storm?
I don't remember a whole lot because, again,
I know you weren't there on the ground, but
but the Schwarzkopf was such a dynamic and prolific leader that
Storm and Norman.
I'm sorry, Storm and Norman. I felt good about that. That he would make the right decision, and I was hoping that the people who were behind him up the chain of command would listen to him, because I think what he would decide to do and his decision making would be in the best interest of the troops. That was just me.
Did you watch it on TV?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
Well, the anxiety was for my son and both my sons, but primarily my son, who was an officer, and he was in armor, tanks and stuff, and I knew that he would be deployed. There's no doubt about that. And what a lot of people do not understand about the Gulf War was Saddam Hussein didn't stand a chance. They had tanks behind him. They could have killed every one of those troops.
They meaning the United States.
The United States could have killed. The Saddam Hussein was withdrawing his armor from Kuwait from the confrontation. Had he not done that, well, they let him. Finally, they stopped. He stopped his tanks, and the men got out and were walking back to Baghdad. And they let them do that. I would say the United States and the United Nations and the troops, they could have killed them all. That's what my son said. Dad, we could have killed all of them. We could have wiped them out, but we didn't. They got out of the tanks, left them, and began to walk back to Baghdad.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think that if you're going to have an enemy, the United States and the United Nations would make a pretty good enemy in regards to compassion, because most enemies, or a number of enemies, would not have done that. They would have smoked your ass.
Do you see that as a sign of our nation's greatness or a sign of our weakness?
Greatness is it's a morality thing, yeah.
So you don't see it as a weakness?
No, certainly not. That's kind of decisions that Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf would make. And that's what made him such a great commander. Yeah. I
wanted to chat real quick about music as well.
I don't know anything about music.
That's why I want to talk about it. Before I get to music, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think is important to know about you, or anything that's of interest? I mean, I don't want to totally dominate the.
No. This is fine.
Cool.
I'm real sensitive about my juvenile record, but no, I'm just messing. I would like some more of this.
I can do that. Yeah, more of the same.
That'd be fine. Yeah. Nothing like a good shot of Listerine.
That's right. Get rid of that gingivitis.
That's right. Oh, me.
Did you, I'm trying to think if you know any good jokes. You have any good jokes that...
I'm the biggest joke going. I just, it's getting easier and easier.
Yeah, about music. You saw Hank Williams Sr.
Yeah.
And what were some of your other favorite shows that you've seen?
I was always been a big fan of Don Williams. Don Williams was just such a. I remember coming out with Tulsa Time and Good Old Boys Like Me, and
that's my favorite one of his. Is Good Old Boys Like Me.
I mean, but I saw him in concert. And he's sitting on a stool, no fanfare. Got his guitar, and the audiences know every word of every song he's ever recorded, and they're singing along with him. Mm-hmm. And he says, "Y'all sounding real good," and just that old, y'all doing real good. It is, but I've loved Don Williams.
There's a couple lines in that song that really mirror your life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. It's
so you see it too?
Yeah. Nothing makes a sound in the night like the wind does. Mm-hmm. But you ain't afraid if you washed in the blood like I was.
My favorite line from that song it's actually the very last verse. It's the when I was in school, I ran with the kid down the street.
Burned himself up on bourbon and speed. Mm-hmm. But I was smart.
I could choose
between talk like the man, learn to talk like the man on the 6 o'clock news.
That's right.
When I was 18, Lord, I hit the road, and it really doesn't matter how far I go.
Yeah.
Man, who writes stuff like that?
It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
What's the those Williams boys still mean a lot to me.
Still mean a lot to me.
Hank in Tennessee.
Hank in Tennessee. Yeah. Oh, it's
a great song.
Oh man, yeah.
So yeah, Don Williams, Charlie Pride. You also like George Jones.
Oh, the Possum. I knew George back when he was No Show Jones. When I first saw George Jones, he was obviously a young man, had a crew cut, and had songs like The Race Is On and White Lightning and
Who Shot Sam?
Who Shot Wham Bam? Who Shot Sam?
My.
Oh yeah, and he was just that was before Tammy, and Tammy was a blessing and a curse. She had her problems too.
You see her in concert? Did you ever see her sing?
Yeah, Tammy? Oh yeah. I saw her the last time by herself in Marshall, Texas, and she was good, quite good, and drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
But the last time I saw her in person, well, actually it was on television, and she looked like death warmed. I mean, she just, I don't know what she was. It was right.
She wasn't well.
No, right before she died. Mm-hmm. And my God, I flinched when I saw her because she looked, she did not look good.
She had a rough go of it.
Yeah. But
you ever see Emmylou Harris?
Oh yeah, Lord, yeah. I saw her in a club in Raleigh did country western music. And Emmylou was something else. She was something.
What about Elvis?
Elvis came to Fayetteville toward the end of his career, and my wife and I went to the concert. Phenomenal concert, great concert. His voice was phenomenally good as it ever was. But my God, he was as wide as that table, and not in good health. And the next year he was dead. But he was just phenomenal voice-wise, and the concert he put on was wonderful.
Yeah, Elvis has always struck me as kind of a tragic figure.
Yeah.
Incredibly gifted, incredibly talented. You know, he was born to be on that stage singing, but at the same time, a very unhappy human.
When he came to Fayetteville, I knew some of the police officers. I did police community relations stuff, and one of the police officers that drove him from the hotel to the concert said Elvis told him, so you know what I would like to do, what I would really enjoy doing? I'd like to go into that restaurant over there and have a cup of coffee with you. He can't do that because of who he is. The fans wouldn't laugh, but he just
wanted that normal.
Yeah, and he was not a happy camper per se. Yeah,
that's heavy.
It is. It is. It is something.
Because I think of how many times I've looked at him and thought
they said they assign him a lifestyle that he really didn't have,
and yet everybody, I should say everybody, but many people, myself, you look at him and you think, well, that boy had it all.
If I had that, man.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see. You just had a birthday a couple months ago in May. Turned 86, I think.
May 4th.
May 4th. What's the secret to longevity? Because you got it. You got that secret.
Well, I am 85.
I think you're 80. You're 86.
I'm sorry.
You're 86, right? Because you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That you're absolutely right.
I got it. Yeah, I mean, you've earned that extra year.
That's terrible, but it's just I enjoy life. I see my glass as being half full, not half empty. I've been in a lot of situations where I could have come out of it worse than I went in, but I didn't. And I think about that sometimes. And I'm blessed. I really, really am.
Is this where, when you were 20, 30, 40 years old, is this where you thought you'd be at 86? Sipping bourbon and a podcast?
I don't know. I really have not thought about it. I'm not an oh my God, oh woe is me. I've never been that.
Yeah, you've never been a complainer.
No, I just ask people piss and moan. And I always come back and say, ask compared to what? Mm-hmm. And I still am of the opinion that people who have never left this country, that don't have that frame of reference of experiencing another country, another culture, another experience, they don't have a clue. And I don't mean that ugly. I just mean that you can't. You can't. The Vietnam War, I didn't enjoy that. And I don't enjoy people even now saying, I want to thank you for your service. Just leave me the hell. If you appreciate it, approve veterans bills and veterans benefits if you really do. Talk's cheap. But that's just where I'm at. I'm eating up with type 2 diabetes. That's Vietnam related. I don't care. I mean, I'm not.
Is that an Agent Orange?
Yeah, Agent Orange stuff. Okay. And well, there's a disproportionate number of Vietnam vets that have diabetes. I'm one of them. It doesn't run in my family, but I've got type 2 diabetes. I get 2 shots of insulin every day. I'm not complaining. That's just what it is. No, I'm okay.
How does it make you feel when there are politicians who will show up to the Veterans Day parade or the Memorial Day service and will do all, shake the hands and wave the flag, but then will vote to take away benefits? I mean, what is that like?
That's the hypocrisy of it all. I'm going to look at that and I will tell them to their face, if you really legitimately appreciate my service, then I've got 40% disability from diabetes, eating up with it. If you really appreciate my service, don't fight me every step of the way for my disability. One of the politicians said, you can count on my support. I support this the same degree that I did last year. And people went to looking at what he didn't support it last year.
But he wasn't lying.
No, he wasn't lying.
What's that? What do you say about a fella who doesn't lie? Man who doesn't lie?
A man who don't lie ain't got nothing to say.
You've got a lot of great mottos or sayings. Like a couple I've picked up from you. We only keep
what we give.
We only keep what we give.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
That probably came from my wife. If I had to think back to it, yeah.
That's a good one.
That's true. We only keep what we give. I believe that you cast the bread upon the water, it comes back to you. That's just me.
Mm-hmm. You give a blessing, you get a blessing.
Sure, and I'm glad that I can do that. I'm glad that my economically is such that I can afford to tithe, and I do. I've been tithing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I intend to continue to tithe. I've always wanted to be involved. I wanted to be active. I wanted to be a player per se. I don't know what it's like to be 85 years old, but here I am, and I think I'm pretty much still in tune, still able to contribute and be a part. What's your perception on stuff like that, on generational stuff?
Mm-hmm. On oh, that's a great question. Are you asking my perception on aging or on
aging and participation per se?
So, damn, that's a good question.
It's a good question. It's a double-edged sword.
I spend a lot of time thinking about when 40 or 50 years from now, when we look back on this time in which we live, what will make us cringe? Mm-hmm. In the sense that today we look back on the 1940s, 1950s. I mean, there are things we look back when you were coming of age. The obvious one is racism. We look back on racial segregation.
Oh, yeah.
And we think, that was not a good idea.
No.
That hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
It really hurt everybody. Yeah. But I think there are other things, too. I think we look at how we used to treat the environment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not great, right? Yeah. I think for my generation, there are going to be a couple things we look back on and really feel some shame and remorse. And I think one of them is going to be that we have not done a better job of incorporating the wisdom of our elders and keeping folks in the game. Now, like you are a person who's always been very independent. You know, from your childhood onward, whether or not you chose to be or had to be, you've been independent.
Yeah. And
I think as you've entered your 80s, like that's really been a credit to you. You know, since we reconnected back in 2016, you know, I mean, you were involved in Civitans, you were involved with your church community, you were involved with teen court, you've always been determined to find a way to stay connected. Yeah. But I think a lot about folks who, for whatever reason, either don't have the drive, you know, they need somebody to pull them in, right?
Well, they're involved with and subscribe to the disengagement in theory, in that I'm 65 years old, I'm going to retire,
right? And
I disengage,
right?
And then there's the other edge of the engagement. I'm going to stay involved as much as I can for as long as I can, but I'm going to be an active participant unless somebody tells me they don't want me to participate.
Right.
Then I've got the decision to, well, you know, have a nice day.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I've known you, right? I mean, you're the kind of person that if you walk into a room or you've been invited into a room and there are not enough seats at the table, you will pull up a seat.
Yeah, oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I think we as a society could do a lot better job of extending a seat at the table. Inclusion.
Yeah.
And not just racial inclusion or sexual inclusion, but like I think age is an area where we could stand to be a lot more inclusive because we have ideas of what people are supposed to be like when they're young or when they're more mature.
My mother experienced the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. She could, before she died, she could sit down and she'd talk about it and she'd say, better save some money. It could happen again, you know, because she was impacted with that. She lived it, and it was a significant emotional event. Mm-hmm. Some people lost everything. They lost their homes. They lost everything, and they started back from ground zero, and it impacted on them. But people who've been to war, they have, in many cases, had experiences that are atypical, And when I was working in gerontology at Fayetteville State University, I was trying to get people who were in their 70s and 80s to talk to people and tell me, what is it like to be 76 years old and healthy?
So you were doing this.
Yeah. And I believe in that. My mother lived to be 97, and she was active right up to the end. Now, her body began to give out on her, but she was 97 years old when she died.
This is making me realize, do you feel, like I'm about to turn 30. I'm going to turn 30 in September.
Bless your heart.
I know. It's funny because to me, I'm like, I'm 30. I'm getting old. It's all relative, right? Yeah. But I don't feel 30. I don't feel 29.
Yeah.
I really haven't felt. Yeah, I mean, when you're a kid, feeling 13 feels pretty different than feeling 8.
Yeah.
But once you hit like 17 or 18, I do kind of feel like I'm.
Well, 16 was a big age. Your driver's license,
sure.
This, that, and the other. Yeah.
But at a certain point,
yeah.
I just feel like I'm me.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit ageless, to be honest with you. Does being 86 feel like, I mean, like, does being 86 feel that much different than being 58 or 60?
If you go back to 1900, 49 was the average age of life expectancy. If you lived to be 49 to 50, you were an old dude. That's all changed now,
But do you personally feel 86 as opposed to like 60?
I don't know.
Yeah, does that mean anything?
I don't know what it means. I don't. I get up in the morning. I go down and eat breakfast. I have conversations with people. Now at 86, in my case, there's not a great big demand. I don't have to go to work. I've been retired for multiple years, retired from the Air Force at 37. And, of course, I didn't stop working at 37. But between the Air Force and Social Security, at 87 years old, I'm not, I'm not working anymore.
Is it weird for you to interact with, I say weird, do you experience a disconnect when you interact with young people?
In some cases, but not all cases, I think young people are, I'm more of what I always was, whatever that is.
Can you say that again?
I'm more of what I've always was or always has been. That was a saying that we had when I worked in gerontology. The man that was too old to learn was probably always too old to learn. And so it's just a mindset, don't bother me with that crap. Or, hey.
You grew up through segregation.
Yeah.
As an adult, you've experienced and you've seen a broader acceptance of gay folks. What has that been like for you?
It's first of all, I don't think that the two of us sat down at some point in our evolution, biological evolution, and said, gee, yay or straight? I think I'll be straight. I never went through a process like that. I know that as a child, I can remember throwing rocks at the little girl next door. I also remember wanting to be with her. And I didn't even know why, but it's
one day you're throwing rocks at her.
That's right. Next day, I wanted to get close, I wanted to be with her, and I didn't even know why,
Right, sure.
And then
that's a mysterious
biological growth. And I think we all went through that. I don't know what happened. Like I said, I'm throwing rocks at her one day, and the next day I wanted to be at 11 or 12 or 13 years old. I wanted to be next to her. If I could just touch the hem of her garment, I'd be all right. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. Why do you think people get so bent out of shape?
I think religious, or the perception of religious doctrine is just amazing. My God, every time I look in the mirror, I realize that my God has a sense of humor. I mean, I just
because he made you.
Yeah. Yes, he did. I think and look at the warthog. There's no doubt in my mind that the God made all these animals, and he had some parts left over, and he has made a warthog. But no, I mean it's now I know that God. I believe in the heaven and earth, and a hell, and I believe when God is going to. If I have any questions, I'll raise my hand. Yeah, and he'll explain it to me in ways that I will understand. But life's good. Hey, you know what?
It doesn't bother you that other people live in ways that you don't understand or don't want for yourself?
No, I could sit here and say, well, why did this so-and-so get killed in Vietnam and I didn't?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lord. I don't know. It wasn't my time to go, whatever that means.
Why me, Lord?
Yeah, why me, Lord? What have I? That's the only song that Chris Christopherson ever made that is good. I mean, I say, the man can't sing. The man can't sing a lick.
But he writes some great songs.
Oh, yeah. Why me, Lord? What have I ever done? Great song.
It is a great song.
Great song. And that song came out of a religious experience for him.
Mm-hmm.
He had a conversion experience, and he sat down and wrote that song.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that until I heard somebody recently talk about that. Yeah, life's good,
Well, last thing I wanted to ask you about was horses. Horses.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've talked about lots and lots of things, but I would be remiss if we didn't talk about horses.
Oh, yeah.
Would you describe yourself as a cowboy?
I am a dyed-in-the-wool, born. I love my horses. The closest I came to getting killed that I'm aware of was on a horse, and that was years ago. I was moving at a high rate of speed trail riding.
Was this on Gypsy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gypsy. Yes, sir.
Tell us about Gypsy.
Gypsy was a beautiful grade mare. Do anything I wanted her to do. We trail rode a lot, and we were trail riding, and I was loping on this trail, and the kid with me lost control of his horse and bumped me, and my Gypsy went off the trail and around a tree. Well, I didn't make it around the tree. It caught me across the chest, knocked me off about 6 feet behind, knocked all the breath out of me. But now, I look back on that, if my head had hit the tree, it'd have killed me.
Yeah, that would have been game over.
There's no doubt about that. I was sore. My ribs were bruised. But I didn't get killed. It just wasn't my time to go.
You don't blame the horse for any of that?
No. She didn't hit the tree. I hit the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a great horse. Oh, God. I still think about her.
What kind of horse was she?
She was just a grade mare. A mixture. She wasn't thoroughbred. Big horse. Always had big horses. And
where did you ride mostly?
We had behind my house was Rockefeller land all the way down to Southern Pines and Pinehurst.
Mm-hmm.
So I could saddle my horse up. I could ride for 15 miles.
Wow.
On Rockefeller land. Nobody ever said anything to me, made an issue of it. It was wonderful. So all that land was accessible to me, and I used it. It was good. It was good.
Was that the same house where you had the monkey?
Yeah, oh yeah, we had a monkey in the backyard, yeah.
How did you get a monkey?
Well, my daughter bought that monkey for $30 and had a big cage in the backyard, and we'd go out and feed the monkey. So we had a monkey, we had squirrels and stuff, and it was a great environment to have kids, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But between the horseback riding and the monkeys and the flying squirrels and stuff, it was good.
And the monkey, at least one time, tried to make a break for it.
And the monkey got out. I don't know how the hell that monkey got out, because we had a combination lock. That monkey got out of the cage, and I'm in the bedroom with my wife, and looked up, and this damn monkey is outside my bedroom window looking in, So here I am. I get up, throw some clothes on, and me and the kids, all the kids in the neighborhood, are chasing this damn monkey down. It's like something out of Walt Disney, around the neighborhood. But I mean, it's just.
Did you catch him?
Oh yeah, we caught him.
How'd you catch him? I mean,
well, she went into a culvert, and the kids got on one side, and I got on the other. When the monkey got to the end, I reached down and grabbed it behind his neck and
got him.
Yeah, got him. But I mean, it's just life. Life is always exciting by me.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Well, thank you for being so generous with your time, and I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm so glad we finally got a chance to make it happen. Any final things you want to share with?
Just as you record this and use this, just know that the man that don't lie ain't got nothing to say.
Are you a napper? Do you take afternoon naps?
I take me an afternoon nap every day.
Okay.
I only sleep as long as I want to. You get up and eat supper. I have a pretty simple life, but I like it.
Simple man with a simple plan.
Simple man with a simple plan.
All right. Well, let's. I'll get you back on the road and get you back in time for that nap.
That sounds good. Let's egress.
All right.
I asked this lady one time. Seriously, I said, "How in the hell did you ever get mixed up with this guy?" Alcohol. That's a good answer. Did you get everything you needed, son?
I think so. And if I didn't, I know where to find you.
There you go. I'm not going to be far.